Today we're going to kind of take a reflective perspective, that rhymes, reflective perspective of what you're already eating to see how we can audit your daily diet and make each meal just a little bit healthier, just a little bit closer to your goals. So I simplified it down by thinking about five kind of five benchmarks, five little boxes to check for each meal that you're eating to make sure that it is the healthiest it possibly can be and that it's in line for your fat loss goals and it's easier for you to track as you're going into a flexible dieting approach. So what I want you to think about is what you had for breakfast this morning or what you ate yesterday, meals that you're already eating on a regular basis. We all have our regulars, our sort of staple meals that we eat all the time, that we like, that are filling. And so we're gonna just think about how we can take what we're already eating and make it just a little bit closer towards what we want for our goals. So think about what you ate today or yesterday, and we're gonna think about how to make sure these five components, these things, are part of our thought process, part of our mindful decision-making when we're creating that meal. We're thinking about these things, okay? So the first thing is micronutrients. Remember, micronutrients are vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients. So you want to think about the meals that you're eating and look for tons of micronutrients. And you can identify that by thinking, is there lots of different natural colors in this meal? Is it eating the rainbow of natural colors? Every single meal is going to get you a good mix and variety of those micronutrients. So let's hit breakfast. Let's think about breakfast for micronutrients, because a lot of times our breakfast in the United States and sort of the standard American diet is very carb and fat heavy, macro heavy, and not so much micronutrient heavy. For example, one of my favorite breakfasts is peanut butter toast. So it's whole wheat toast with peanut butter, which is a great way to start the day because it's giving me fuel, it's giving me calories and energy, but there's not a ton of micronutrients in that meal. There's not very many colors. It's all brown, right? So along with my peanut butter toast, my super green drink that I've been talking about, that super green drink to start the morning. If I start my morning with that and then wait till I'm hungry to have my peanut butter toast, then I've already got a ton of micronutrients in the mix. Or if you're having a pasta bowl, could you bulk up that pasta bowl using the fat loss meal building method that we talked about on Monday? And if you still need that freebie printable, please comment or DM and let me know. But the fat loss meal building map is a great way to add those micronutrients in. So you can eat something like a pasta bowl, but really half the volume of that bowl is going to be filled up with vegetables and greens and things that are giving you tons of micronutrients. So think about meals that you're already having. Think about ways that you can add in the foods that are going to give you more of those micronutrients, and it'll help to kind of crowd out the higher calorie foods as you're going throughout your day. Super fun. So we talked about macros. Check. Woohoo! All right. So the next one is whole unprocessed foods. So here's where we're going to start talking about swaps. So you want to look at the meals that you're already eating and think about ways that you can swap out one component of that meal for something that's less processed. Okay. So let's go back to that breakfast example of peanut butter toast. If you are someone who always does like a white toast or even a wheat bread toast, a great swap for that is to get a sprouted grain bread. Sprouted grain breads are usually found in the freezer section because they don't have preservatives and they don't have additives, but the grains are sprouted, meaning that it's easier on your digestion, it becomes a complete protein. It's a great, easy little swap to swap out kind of a nutrient void bread for a much more nutritious option. So let's say for dinner you're having pasta as your starch. Pasta is fine, you can have pasta every once in a while, but a great option would be to swap that out for something that's less processed. So what is a swap for pasta? Well, if we're just thinking carbs, a great swap for that would be brown rice. Brown rice is more nutritious than white rice because it hasn't been processed down to be white. So brown rice would be a great swap, or even better, shocker here, would be potatoes. People hate potatoes, or they hate on potatoes because they are like a simple carb, but hello, it is a single ingredient. It is a whole plant food. They are full of micronutrients. They are full of minerals, especially because they grow in the ground. And cup for cup or gram for gram, they're lower in calories than both rice and pasta. So do some potatoes. It's a great way to swap out something processed like pasta for something that's less processed, but is still gonna give you that sort of starchy, carby satisfaction that you're looking for. So when you're looking at whole unprocessed foods, you're thinking about swaps. So you know, you love tortillas and you love burritos, you can get a sprouted grain burrito. You can get big collard greens, big leaves, make great wraps. Collard greens especially because they're really flat. You can roll them up like a burrito, which will save you tons of calories and also is unprocessed. So it's gonna get you more of those micronutrients and your body is gonna get the benefit of having to do the digesting itself. So whole unprocessed foods means finding swaps. Check. All right, point number 3 is protein. So like I mentioned, we were talking about macros and we were talking about flexible dieting yesterday. Below calories, protein is your second priority. And I actually put it above calories on this priority list because if you're doing these things, you're already kind of keeping your calories in check. So protein just means make sure that each meal has a hit of protein. That way your protein is spread out throughout the day. Your body does better absorbing protein when it is in little amounts throughout the day as opposed to eating like 65 grams of protein in one meal. So for protein, when it comes to breakfast, that peanut butter toast breakfast that I mentioned has very little protein. But if I swapped out my wheat bread for sprouted grain bread has about 6 grams of protein per slice. So in 2 slices, I've got 12 grams of protein, and that's awesome. Or I could do like a protein shake to go along with it. It would up the calories, but it would make sure I get some protein early in the morning. If you're gonna do like a pasta bowl, again, as like an example that we're using, swapping out that pasta for a chickpea pasta or a legume-based pasta. And the chickpea pastas are the best. If you swapped out that pasta, normal, even whole wheat pasta, if you swapped it out, for a chickpea pasta, then automatically you're getting like 21 grams of protein per serving just from the pasta. So you're still getting what feels like in like your belly and in your, you know, heart, like a really hearty, warm, filling bowl of pasta. And you're also making sure that you get protein. And since we use the fat loss meal building map method that I talked about in day 1, you're getting micronutrients, you're making healthy swaps, and you're getting protein. So that's a really easy way to just kind of like redesign that meal so that it's more appropriate for your goals. Cool, protein. Calories. Calories is the next thing, and this is just kind of staying mindful of portion sizes. So again, if you're making sure that you're getting micronutrients in by eating lots of vegetables, if you're making sure that you're swapping for more whole plant foods, if you're including lean protein in every meal, your calories are going to naturally come down because you're not filling your plate so much with things that are really heavy and high calorie foods that are not as nutritious for you, because these nutritious foods are naturally lower in calories because they're so high in fiber, they're so high in water. So this actually kind of happens naturally. Now, when we're taking a very mindful and specific approach to flexible dieting, then we need to be even more specific about how we measure and keep ourselves accountable of our calories. So that just means keeping your portions in check and staying mindful of your portions so that your calories of each meal are not outrageous. So if you're having peanut butter toast for breakfast again, clearly I'm craving peanut butter toast. I actually had peanut butter toast for breakfast this morning. But if you're having peanut butter toast, peanut butter is one of the easiest things to go overboard on the portions because it's delicious and it's sticky and thick, so it's kind of hard to get out of the jar. So that's something that, it's also super high calorie. So it's something that we're gonna want to be mindful of and make sure that we're measuring appropriately. The best way to measure peanut butter is to have your food scale. Please use a food scale. It makes everything more accurate. It actually makes things easier because you can just do it by weight. You don't have to like dirty up a bunch of measuring spoons and measuring cups. And it just makes things so much easier. Anyways, take your food scale, put the jar of peanut butter on it, and then hit 0 so that the jar of peanut butter is zeroed out on the weight. And then scoop out your portion size and let the scale measure negative. So if you want one tablespoon of peanut butter is 16 grams. So if I'm doing 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, I will let the scale measure negative 16. Or if I want 2 tablespoons, that would be negative 32. That's the most accurate way to do it because then you're also taking into account how it gets stuck to the knife and all that stuff too. So be specific about your measuring, but only be specific about your measuring for things that like are super calorie dense, like peanut butter or like mac and cheese or like pasta or whatever it is that's more calorie dense in your meal. After you've taken care of these things and you've gotten the health factor of your meal way up there and you've kind of naturally brought down the calories of the meal, then you zero in on the portions to keep the calories in check. Okay, so that's number 4. Woo, woo. And the last one is to have balanced macros throughout the day. So this is where you want to look at your day in a whole picture to make sure that things sort of balance out. So one way that we do that is by making sure we get protein in every meal. That way you're having protein, spread throughout the day. But if it's a special occasion, or if you're going out to dinner, or it's a date night or whatever, and you know that one of your meals that day is going to be super high in fat and super high in carbs, which you would know because you're being mindful and you're tracking and you're reflecting and you're looking ahead and planning ahead, just to be responsible and be accountable for what you're eating. So if you know that one of your meals is going to be super high carb or super high fat throughout the day, then you can choose earlier in the day or at a different meal to eat something that's much higher in micros, much higher in veggies, higher in protein, to balance that out so that I'm not having super high calorie, high fat, high carb, high whatever, even high protein meals all day long. That's not balanced. That's overdoing it all day long. So rather than kind of just having a day that's gone to shit, you can really balance it out. So my favorite example of this is when my boyfriend and I go out to eat, he is a big foodie, so he wants to eat an appetizer and an entree, sometimes more than one appetizer, right? So I will look at the menu ahead of time and realize what I'm going to be eating. I'm going to take it into account, and I always plan ahead and kind of track my estimate of that meal in the morning. We've been together long enough that he knows that he needs to tell me where we're going to go out to eat before we go, so I can make sure I got it covered. That way I can look at how many carbs and calories and protein are in that meal, and then sort of let the rest of my day kind of fall into place behind that, so that I make sure that I'm getting tons of lean protein and fruits and vegetables and all of that stuff earlier in the day. And that's a great way to balance it out, to feel like you can stick with your goals and you can keep eating out with your family and you can do all the things that you want to do without either falling off track or without having to sacrifice those experiences, because they're part of your life. And you can totally meet your goals and totally, have this huge transformation and still live your life. You have to, because that's the only way it sticks. So that is my spiel for my 5 check boxes to make sure that you're doing all day long. And this is a way for you to reflect on your daily diet, because I don't really know what you eat every day. You might know what I kind of eat because I share it a lot, and I would love for you to share what you're eating with me. That's super fun. But this is a great way for you to kind of reflect and see how you can make it a little bit closer to what you need for your goals.